What's happening? Welcome to another episode of SPIP, where I talk about sad shit and make you feel better about it. I hope. So today's happy topic is abused youth. Child abuse comes in many forms, periods, frequencies, intensity. There are just so many instances what you could actually call child abuse. Most people are very familiar with either physical abuse or sexual abuse because that's something that gets talked about in the media the most and really seems the most direct and violent. But there's also verbal abuse when family members or people in your environment say, the really worst things to you that can actually really damage you mentally. Or think about neglect. If you actually don't get the right and adequate amount of attention and love and affection during your childhood years, that could actually affect you a lot during the rest of your life. Neuroimaging studies have actually found out that people who were abused in their childhood develop changes in their brain. And it's not really clear yet if these changes come from either the experience of the abuse or because they develop a psychiatric disease such as PTSD or depression. So if it's either the abuse or a psychiatric disease that could possibly come because of the abuse, nobody really knows. And also from a scientific point of view, it's very hard to research that. I mean, it's not very easy for a scientist to collect people who were, objectively proven to be abused. And if it's not objective, then you can't really, say anything about it if you do research. And also many of those people that you would use for research have also a lot of other problems that could interfere with the results. So I'm not really sure how the academic community is going to solve that in the future, but for now we know, and I can tell all of you people who might have experienced abuse in your youth, it's not just you that's going through it. There's actually real physical proof that your brain really changes and therefore your behavior too if you've gone through any kind of abuse when you were young. So what I can tell you is that people who weren't treated properly, during their childhood and who've underwent like really harsh punishment for things that they did, even if they weren't necessarily wrong, and that happened since you were really young, those people are hypersensitive to errors that they may make and will have a lot of depression and anxiety based on what they do in life and whether or not they get the right results. I personally think there should be a treatment to decrease this maltreatment and the consequences of them. And, for patients themselves, it's very important, but also for public health. I mean, you have so many people nowadays who need to deal with a lot of trauma that they went through during their youth. And if we could educate people properly, not only how to prevent it, how to deal with it, inform the parents, inform caregivers, and people in education systems. I think that the fact that being abused in your youth can make you truly suffer, even now, should be very important to acknowledge, not only for the patients, but just also public general health. I mean, people find it really logical that if you've gone through a heart attack 7 years ago, you must be dealing with some health problems. But for some people, it really seems like you need to get over yourself if you've been abused in your past and it's not going on anymore right now. So yeah, for all you people out there with a baggage, you can get a hypersensitive response to errors and potential consequences. And it's not only common with people who've been maltreated during their childhood, but it's also related to brain changes. So even if you think you can't change your behavior, you definitely can't change the way that your brains work right now. So today I'm going to give you 7 tips on how to deal with these hypersensitive feelings of inadequacy and the fear of making errors even when you've already outgrown your childhood. Tip number 1, just tear out those roots. I'm not talking about your hair or your weave or anything, don't do anything with that. But if you're an adult right now and you're able to escape that environment that made you feel so bad all the time, literally do it. There's nothing more important than your own mental health and your peace of mind. So even if there are still family members or friends in your life, yeah, you don't owe them anything. Just get rid of them. Tip number 2, allow yourself those emotional breakdowns. People will tell you, this happened in your past, you need to move on now, you can't keep on dragging this baggage with you, but you're not doing it on purpose, and you know that. So if you're not feeling okay, then that's okay. You won't magically heal from all the fucked up things that you've gone through, and don't expect that from yourself. Number 3, make up resolutions. Okay, so you're an adolescent, young adult, or maybe even a little bit older, and you need to get out of that sense of inadequacy that you're having. Try to set up goals for yourself. People are really scared to make mistakes and be punished for that, tend to kind of avoid doing new things altogether, but you should really try to go against that. Tip number 4 kind of goes together with that, because what I would advise you to do if you're very hypersensitive to making errors, do stuff together. Try new things with your friends, or make sure someone comes along who you trust really well. Or if you don't really have those kind of people in your direct environment, go to group classes, because let's be honest, you're all probably really shit at that spinning class. So you definitely won't be the only one during the lesson making mistakes. And if you see other people getting disciplined in a way of which you think, well, that isn't really that intimidating at all, then you realize that everyone makes mistakes and everyone is allowed to make mistakes. So you can kind of learn by example. Number 5, don't get discouraged when you have another relapse. As soon as you realize, you start blaming yourself for things again that you rationally can't really explain, or you let someone get to you again and then later on really regret that, that's alright. Just try to go back to square one and try to do it all over again. Tip number 6 is something that I implement in my daily life. I'm just gonna try to call out bitches when they're wrong. Rationalizing is a coping mechanism when you look back on things that happened to you that you really feel really bad about, and then you try, without any emotions, just try to objectively describe what went wrong and how that happened and what you or the other person could do about it in the future. I usually ask my friends for advice and go like, I just want to know that it's not 100% me. And they just kind of go, it's definitely 0% you. The other person just being an asshole. And you can't really do that if you don't let go of the feelings that you're experiencing with it too. Rationalize, analyze, and then kick that motherfucker to the curb. And number 7, remember that it's better to be alone by yourself than be amongst people who make you feel alone. I mean, I'm totally a loner and a hermit. I live in a small apartment by myself without any roommates, and I don't have to take anyone else into account during my daily life, and I can just do stuff for myself. And it gets lonely sometimes, but I'd rather be like this. Honestly, my best self-esteem moments happen to be on those days when I don't really interact with a lot of people in my own environment. Because consciously or unconsciously, the people in your life, especially the ones who also may have abused you in your youth, they do these, like these little things, little subtle things, maybe even unconsciously, that undermine you. So, why not just be alone and free rather to be with them and feel like a piece of crap? Anyway, like this video if you felt like it was somewhat helpful, and if you feel like you also have difficulty dealing with your imperfections after having a troublesome youth, or if you have any other kind of advice for other people, leave it down in the comments, and I'll see you next time.